This week, VW's Tiguan R. I really like the look of Tiguan. You can see the outside looks just like any other Tiguan, bigger wheels, and the all-important R badges. Inside the back, enough room for my fold-up bike. Seats fold down 40, 40, 20. And there's a couple of bag hooks and a place where you can let the back seats down. Right here from standing at the back. And that's important because you don't want to have to schlep around to the front to put stuff in the back. With the seats folded down, there's a bunch of space. This is so comfortable because remember, this is a Tiguan and 235 kilowatts worth of power. There's a couple of inches of leg space, some outlets here for air, another temperature control, and a USB outlet. Now, interestingly, the ones in the front are Apple compatible. Not actually sure whether that means they're not Android compatible, but they are USB-C. Overhead, there's a full-length roof with this cover. And you can see that today on this kind of grey, rainy old day, I've just got it half open so I can have the camera out. But generally the cabin is dark and brooding with these beautiful blue stitching highlights. As you turn the car on, the front seat slides forward and the heads-up display pops up out of the dash. Not my favourite kind of head-up display. I always find those a little bit hard to adjust. The dashboards come to life. You'll notice that's all digital. And there's another decent sized screen here for infotainment. The steering wheel, when the ignition is off, all of this is black. It's just completely black and it only comes up when you turn the ignition on. There's an important R button here and that instantly gives you access to R driving mode. But driving modes are also accessible through the central control down below. This one gives you access to the on-road controls and this is the off-road controls. Remember, this is still an off-road car, allegedly. There's the automated parking and parking sensors down this side and the electric parking brake, auto hold and traction control off on this side. This is the halcyon era of Volkswagen infotainment controls, in my opinion. You've still got something separate for the two zones of climate control at the front, and a nice, easy to use menu system for this with gesture control and voice control. Importantly, it will give you access to your Apple CarPlay, like so, if you've got your phone connected, and this is wireless. There's also a Harman Kardon sound system, which I have to say sounds brilliant, but of course, can't demonstrate it because naturally YouTube will have a fit. Now, I've had the entire week I've had a problem with the dash showing me that the tyre pressure monitoring system, that one of my tyres is flat and yet it's showing exactly the same as all the rest. So that needs resetting. I've got this just in normal mode. Why don't I put it in sport mode? In order to select your road modes, you've got to have the selector in the road setting, and then you just push the button to scroll through the sport mode, so comfort, sport, race, and so forth. On this kind of road, I think putting it in race would be absolutely insane. If you want the gearbox in sport, you can just give that another pull backwards. This is a 7-speed DSG to go with the 235 kilowatt turbo engine. It's a big bit of water over the road here, so I'm going to avoid that. That would not be a good look. The sound from this exhaust is actually, it's really pleasing. It's got all the same characteristics as the Golf R. And that means that this is, in every respect, a proper R. Although for the life of me, I cannot understand why you would want an R SUV. But I suspect it's because buyers now are buying SUVs and the Golf 8 R, apart from the fact that it's in short supply, was until now the only R that you could actually get. The controls are all fairly easy to use. You can use the Volkswagen command to get some of the other functions working for you, but I've never had much success with it. Indicators, obviously on the left-hand side because this is a European car. We've got the Matrix headlights at the front, as I said, and all the outside lighting is LED. It looks so pretty at night. Inside there's also theme lighting, and you can change the color of that in the settings in the central screen. The 4Motion all-wheel drive is particularly handy. Now, I'm always going on about it. I'm always saying that all-wheel drive systems are great for when you want that little bit of extra grip off-road. But on-road, they're equally as handy simply because of the fact that the roads get so greasy and so wet. While we're sitting here at the lights, let's talk about the interior trim. A little bit of imitation carbon fibre, the Harman Kardon speaker covers. It makes the interior look classy, though I have to say, whether or not it looks like it costs what it costs is another issue altogether. When I first heard that Tiguan was coming out in an R version, although it's nice to have that extra power, I must admit, it just seems like a little bit of a waste because you're never really going to take an SUV onto a racetrack, are you? I mean, you're not. But it's there to give you bragging rights at dinner, I guess. There's a T-Rock R coming soon. One thing I do like is the stylized R symbol. It just has this sort of sexy-esque look. Okay, I'm in sport mode now. The other thing to note, of course, is that along with the other fancy adaptations the R gets, this also has adaptive suspension. Very important. Now I'm going to activate my... There we go. So travel assist is now active. And I can see on the dashboard that it's set to 80 kilometers an hour. The lane watch is active, the auto steering is active, and all of the safety and driver aids are active. So this is what you'd put on for a trip up north. You know, just get on the highway and go. You'd be surprised on the highway how much work those travel assistants, those driver aids take out of a really long trip. It's slowed down now to 70 because the goose in front is doing 70, so let's change lanes. I'm going to turn it back now to... The only problem with the drive modes is you've got to keep scrolling through them. You've just got to keep hitting the button. You can't go to the one you want in particular unless you hit the button on the screen. And that's not that easy to do while you're actually driving. The sound in the cabin, acceptably quiet, even on these big wheels. Through the week we've done the usual chores. There's been an airport run and some groceries and, you know, the usual stuff that you're going to do with a car like this. We did do a little bit of fast cornering, but look, the weather's been so miserable all week that the roads have been absolutely treacherous. And you're probably better off not doing anything like that when the roads are just so slippery. But mainly we were limited by this tyre warning, which is probably a faulty gauge, but I'm not going to take my chances. Another thing, of course, is that these nappa seats are power adjusted and they do have seat heating, but no cooling. Put it in sport. I'm not going around this corner as enthusiastically as I normally would, simply because the road is so greasy. But it's still handling this with aplomb. And I can feel that there's, oh, a splash. I can feel that there's definitely extra high weight, as I said. "5 seconds and some change," which is plenty fast enough for a car in the 1700 kilo range. But somehow or other, as good as this is, it doesn't make me want to get in and thrash it like the Golf R does. The Golf R makes me want to take it by the scruff of the neck and wring it for all it's worth. You can take this to a nice place in the weekend, an Airbnb in the country, get in some nice country roads, and then be comfortable when you get there, and take a whole lot of stuff in the boot while you're about it. Well, that's all this week from VW Tiguan R. It's pretty grim and I'm going to get out of the rain right now. So, as always, leave a comment, hit like, and just over there to subscribe.